topic with various Rotary clubs from our area and Innerville Club, as well as Navi Mumbai Doctors Federation, which is a general practitioner group. Friends, we are like-minded people. This webinar has a topic which is currently one of the most important healthcare concern of our young India. And as you know, India is currently having maximum young people in the world. 40% of our total population is adolescents and young adults. दोस्तों, दुनिया बदल गई है. With both the working parents and changing concepts of personal space and privacy, our growing children face lot of confusion and vulnerable situations in their day-to-day life. We, the adults, have to be vigilant. और फ्रेंड्स, इस गंभीर विषय के बारे में आज हम चर्चा करने जा रहे हैं. फर्स्ट, लेट मी इनवाइट our dynamic and spiritual president of Raigad IIP, Dr. Vikas More, for a welcome note. Dr. Vikas, please.
Thank you so much, Chitra madam. I'm so proud of my AHA team. They are bringing out so many new initiatives like this since last few months, and it is really creating an impact in society. We know that if we calculate by statistics, by the end of this day, few thousand people will lose their life just due to the drug abuse or drug overdose. Now, as we know that we reap as we sow. So the problem is not in the adulthood. The problem starts somewhere early in the life. And it is the most vulnerable life, the stage is the adolescent. And why? Because they are so much vulnerable to peer pressure, social media, the family climate, and overall the surrounding situations. So if a child falls prey to any addiction, it is not his failure. The failure is lies to the family and also to the society. So if we are not able to give them the proper engagements and they are engaged in such kind of drug abuse or different addictions, so it is really a matter of concern for all of us as a physician or as a father, as a mother or as a brother, whoever it is, or as a teacher. We should engage them in a positive way. We should be alert so that we can definitely handle our kids in a more प्रॉपर वे. मेरे पास अभी जिस बच्चे को मैंने BCG वैक्सीन दिया था, पिछले साल वो बच्चा at the age of 15, he was behind bars because of the drug trading. So he was doing a drug trading. मुझे याद है मैंने उस बच्चे को मैंने खुद BCG दिया है. और वो बच्चा, he was from a very good family, and but still because of the peer pressure, family climate, वो बुरी आदतों में फंस गया, बुरे असर में फंस गया और इस तरह से उसका एक डाउनफॉल हुआ. So this is a failure of the family, society. Not I can't blame him. So I am so proud of my AHE team, and also I am proud that various great stalwarts like our AHE president, secretary, and different speakers, expert speakers are with us to guide us for this very important topic, so that we can handle this problem very well. Over to you, Chitra madam, to follow the proceedings.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas. And now I invite Rotary President, Dr. Swati Likhite, who happens to be our AHA Vice President, for further proceedings. Dr. Swati.
Thank you, Chitra madam. Actually, again, I now invite our AHA President, Dr. Chitra Kulkarni, for introducing and inviting our chairperson, Professor Dr. Sukanta Chatterjee, who is a guest of honor and Chairman AHA, Indian Academy of Pediatrics. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. And with immense gratitude, I introduce Professor Dr. Sukanta Chatterjee, who is a main chairperson of our Adolescent Health Academy chapter of this year. Sir is in adolescent care from last 18 years, and he has contributed many chapters in the textbook also. He is pioneer in designing adolescent health questionnaire for Indian children, which we can use in our day-to-day practice in our OPD and pick up high-risk behavior which are present and which may then go for any psychosomatic or psychiatric problems. Sir is HOD, currently Professor of Pediatrics in KPC Medical College and Hospital, Jawadhpur, and he is retired as HOD and Professor from Government Medical College, Kolkata. Sir, please give your blessings.
पीडियाट्रिक आईसीयू में हम लोग रखते हैं ना,
वो कामनी के लिए बोल रहे हैं ना सर आप?
कामनी तो बड़ा बच्चा है ना,
आज जो हुआ है।
अच्छा आज जो हुआ है।
Sir, please unmute. Sir, please unmute.
मैं सोचा एक और बच्चा है।
Good afternoon,
Arvind, please.
Dr.
Yeah.
Chitra Kulkarni and Dr. Shati and the IIP AHA Raigad and IIP Raigad and the organizations, the Lions Club, everyone who has organized this. I must say this is an issue, adolescent addiction and its intervention. This is an issue every one of us should always look for, because the adolescents rarely come saying that I am addicted, please treat me. So they might be brought to our clinic for some other reasons. By the parents, they might come for other reasons also. But we have to look for the telltale evidences of addictions, like the child abuse or adolescent abuse. If we say that we have not seen it in our clinical practice, that means we have missed it. It's so common. Like that, so this addiction is a very common topic, but it starts usually in relation to the mental health. And mental health is the cornerstone of health in adolescent, because the physical health is, or physical health problem is much less in adolescent age group. We call this age group as honeymoon period for physical illness. There is very few physical illness that comes in this age, but mostly it is mental health issues. And these mental health issues, the understanding, the impulsive behavior, all these ultimately attract them towards different substance abuse and addictions. And I'll appreciate the effort of AHA Raigad to take this particular issue and invite two renowned speakers on this. I'm really waiting to listen them, because during my training in WHO, we learned that there are different names of the same addiction material in different parts of the country, and even from country to country. So if we do not understand their language, then we may not be able to understand what they are consuming and what they might ultimately show the clinical manifestations. So with that, with great thanks to all the organizers and those who are listening to this program, I thank you very much, and we will request you to take the proceedings further.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words. And now I invite Secretary Dr. Nilima Bhandarkar Madam to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Chandana Bhagwat, who is a consultant pediatric neurologist in Mumbai. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you, Chitra Madam, Raigad AHA, Raigad IIP, and all the stakeholders for conducting this program. Day by day, we are seeing that addictions, including mobile addiction from the younger age, they are on the increase. So we have to take care of that. And none other than a pediatric neurologist, Dr. Chandana Bhagwat, is our first speaker. She is now working in Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. Pediatric neurologist, मैं सबके लिए बताना चाहूंगी, ये लोग फर्स्ट एमडी पीडियाट्रिक्स करते हैं एंड उसके बाद न्यूरोलॉजी का स्पेशल ट्रेनिंग लेते हैं. ऑल दोज हु आर नॉन डॉक्टर्स. So Madam Chandana has done her PG MD pediatrics and neurology ka training dono from PGI Chandigarh, which is a very reputed institute. So she must be knowing all the things about addictions, how to handle it as disease, and to what to say about that. So we will like to hear her. She is a certified DASI tester. DASI tester is developmental assessment in infants. Then EEG reporting, ketogenic diet in epilepsy, general movement assessment scale. All these things are related to neurology or brain and its functions. So Dr. Chandana Bhagwat is an expert in that. And as you will like to guess, she has many awards, prizes, and publications to her credit. So we won't go into the details of that. There are many. So now we will directly proceed over to Dr. Chandana Bhagwat. Madam, you may start your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind introduction. And thank you all the esteemed faculties for giving me the opportunity to speak on this topic. So I'll start my screen share. So first, today we will discuss about the types and features of addictions in adolescent. This will be a brief introduction as to the various types of addictions that are prevalent in the adolescence age group. So addictions in adolescent can range from disorders of substance abuse, such as drug addiction, or it can be addiction of gambling, such as pathological gambling, or it could be internet addiction, which is very prevalent nowadays, or it could be compulsive stealing or compulsive sexual behavior and eating. Out of all these disorders, DSM-5 has included substance abuse and gambling under the ages of addiction. But the rest of the disorders, such as stealing, sexual behavior, and eating, are still not included in the broad concept of addiction. But they are still very prevalent and we need to know about them. Internet addiction is an evolving term. So for now, DSM-5 has not considered it as an addiction, but in future, we may see that internet addiction also becomes a known pathologic disease. So today we will discuss in brief about substance abuse, gambling, and internet addiction as to the various signs and symptoms and features related to these disorders and how to identify adolescents who are using these drugs. So first, we will discuss about pathological gambling. So when we talk about pathological gambling, so the symptoms are predominantly behavioral rather than organic neurologic symptoms. So the predominant behavioral symptoms will include obsession with gambling even when the child or the adolescent is upset, and the urge to gamble will become stronger with each gamble, and they will start to take even bigger and bigger risk, and even they will take debts for gambling. They will have feeling of guilt after gambling, and all these things will lead to deterioration in their relationships and families. But even after that, they will be unable to stop their gambling, and they will evade the responsibility. They will lie. They will jeopardize their career, education, and ultimately they may sell their money. They sell possessions also for money. So subsequently, all these gambling addiction will have negative effects on work, school, and ultimately there will be problems with relationships, and ultimately this will lead to psychological involvement. So this is about pathological gambling. So predominantly all the symptoms are behavioral and psychological. So the next is internet addiction. So internet addiction is of various types. I have shown here some important types, but even beyond that, there are various types of internet addiction. So internet addictions can be due to excessive social networking, use of excessive social media sites, or even excessive online shopping, or it could be compulsive online gambling also, excessive blogging, excessive watching internet videos and pornography, and excessively playing online games, and excessive use of screen. So even screen addiction is also a subtype of internet addiction. So all of these internet or screen addictions are now combined or now termed under the broad heading of internet addiction disorder. So internet addiction disorder. So basically, the psychological effects of internet addiction lead to feeling of self-worthlessness, lack of social support. Subsequently, the adolescents are socially isolated. They concentrate all their time and effort into the internet, and then lead to problems with their job and education, and they try to evade social responsibility. Psychological factors increase the propensity of an adolescent to develop internet addiction, and internet addiction in turn contributes to the development of these psychological factors. So the relationship is two-way. And due to this internet addiction, they are at risk for developing psychiatric disorders such as attention deficit hyperactive disorder. They can develop other drug abuse and alcohol abuse. They develop depression, insomnia. They develop schizophrenia, suicidal ideation, social phobia and hostility, and aggression. So all these psychiatric and psychological disorders are in turn caused by the excessive internet addiction. So when we talk about signs and symptoms of internet addiction, the predominant symptoms are behavioral. So we see declining school grades, inability to concentrate, not able to complete homework, falling asleep in school, and lack of social interaction, and difficulty in stopping use of mobile phone and continuously for very long trying to use mobile phones. But some physical signs and symptoms also do occur when a child is having internet addiction. So physical effects are secondary to their prolonged sedentary lifestyle. So they develop obesity, they develop issues with vision, they develop issues with hearing, and secondary to the excessive screen time due to their night habits are disturbed, they develop sleep related issues. So they wake up in the night and they are more sleepy in the morning. And all these factors then subsequently lead to poor psychosocial well-being. So this is about internet addiction. So now the third topic which we will discuss is the illicit drug use. So when we talk about drug abuse in adolescents, there are a subset of adolescents for which we must be on high alert to identify the signs of usage of drugs. So adolescents who are at risk for developing drug abuse include the risk factors of, first is environmental. So if drug is available freely in their environment, or if there is a significant peer pressure of using that drug, then the risk factor of using that drug increases. Subsequently, family history. So family history of a drug abuse and also family history of other psychological illnesses increase the propensity for an adolescent to develop drug habits. Also age. So adolescents are at that age in which they try to experiment, they try to widen their horizons, they try to experiment and find out how if they take that drug, what effects that will take. But adolescent brain is still developing. So adolescent brain, if is exposed to drugs, due to the issues with the reward system, they have more propensity that the addiction part of the drug will be activated more, and they will be even more prone to the usage of drugs. Also, mental and behavioral risk factors are there. So all the adolescents who have a family history of a psychological or a psychiatric illness, they have more possibility of taking drugs. And fifth is trauma. So if there is a history of a psychological or a physical trauma to that adolescent, then subsequently the chances of them becoming addicted with drugs is more. So subsequently, when they are using drugs, so the behavioral symptoms are more or less common in the wide variety of drugs which they can use. So the behavioral changes of drug addiction includes secretive behavior, such as they will not like to tell their parents what their plans are, because they have to include the taking drug part, buying the drug part also in their daily life schedule. They will lie about that. Drugs are not cheap, so they will land into financial trouble. But due to their addiction, they will try to take money whichever way they can. So that will include stealing also. All these things will lead to their social isolation, because the only thing which they will be interested in is taking drugs. So they will be socially isolated, and ultimately they have disregard for others also. So these are the broad behavioral symptoms in an adolescent who is taking drugs.
Ma'am, will you tell this in Hindi?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure. So अगर adolescent जो है, मतलब
किशोरवयीन बच्चे,
किशोरवयीन बच्चा जब एडिक्शन में है, मतलब किसी ड्रग के लिए एडिक्टेड है, तो उसे ये परेशानी होगी कि वो अपने बातें जो है वो छुपाएगा, अपने माँ बाप से छुपाएगा बातें, और उसके क्या प्लान्स है, वो दिन भर क्या करता है, वो किसी को नहीं बताना चाहेगा, क्योंकि उसको जाकर के ड्रग्स खरीदना है, ड्रग्स लेना है। ड्रग्स लेने के बाद में घंटों उसको एक कमरे में बैठ करके ड्रग्स का इफेक्ट जो है वो निकालना पड़ेगा, तभी वो इधर उधर जा सकता है। तो इसलिए वो अपने पेरेंट्स और अपने आसपास के लोगों से दूर होता जाएगा। ड्रग्स लेने के लिए उसे पैसे खर्च करने पड़ेंगे, उसे पैसों की जरूरत पड़ेगी, और चूंकि ड्रग्स का एडिक्शन है तो उसे ये नहीं समझ में आएगा कि क्या सही है क्या गलत है, तो वो ड्रग्स के लिए पैसों की चोरी भी कर सकता है, ड्रग्स की भी चोरी कर सकता है, उसके जो पोजेशंस है, जो भी उसके पास पोजेशंस है, वो बेचने की भी नौबत आ सकती है, क्योंकि उसको ड्रग्स खरीदने हैं। और इन सब चीजों के कारण उसकी फैमिली और फ्रेंड्स से दूरियां बढ़ जाती है, और इस सब चीजों से वो अकेला एकांत में रहना पसंद करता है। साथ में चूंकि उसको एडिक्शन है, उसको आदत है, उसके लिए सिर्फ एक ही चीज है कि उसको वो ड्रग चाहिए, इस चीज के अलावा उसको किसी और चीज की वैल्यू नहीं रहती। उस कारण से वो दूसरे लोगों के प्रति इमोशनल और एक साइकोलॉजिक जो कनेक्शन रहता है वो भी बिगड़ जाता है, क्योंकि एडोलेसेंट को सिर्फ ये चाहिए कि उसे वो ड्रग चाहिए। तो ये सारे कारणों की वजह से सिर्फ उसकी लाइफ में ड्रग्स बचते हैं, और बाकी सब चीजों में वो दूसरे लोगों से अलग थलग हो जाता है। ये सारे बिहेवियरल चेंजेस हैं एडिक्शन के। साथ में हमको कुछ फिजिकल चेंजेस भी नजर आते हैं। सो फिजिकल चेंजेस ये होते हैं कि चूंकि उन्हें सिर्फ ड्रग्स ही दिखाई देते हैं, ड्रग्स के अलावा उन्हें बहुत ज्यादा किसी चीज में इंटरेस्ट नहीं रहता, तो खाने पीने और प्रॉपर डाइट वो नहीं लेते, तो अनहेल्दी डाइट हो जाती है उनकी। साथ में रात को नींद में आने में परेशानी होती है, दिन में ज्यादा सोते हैं वो। इन सब चीजों से वेट ज्यादा कम हो सकता है या ज्यादा बढ़ सकता है। चूंकि वो ड्रग्स ले रहे हैं, बहुत सारे ड्रग्स को हमें इंजेक्शन के माध्यम से देना होता है, तो उनके स्किन डैमेज हो सकती है। साथ में उन्हें बहुत सारे ऐसे रोग भी हो सकते हैं जो कि इंजेक्शन के माध्यम से हो सकते हैं, जैसे कि HIV हो गया, और इसके अलावा स्किन के इन्फेक्शंस भी हो सकते हैं। इन सब चीजों के कारण दे विल हैव साइकोलॉजिकल इम्बैलेंस एंड एनेडोनिया। सो उन्हें सिर्फ और सिर्फ ड्रग्स से जो खुशी मिलती है या ड्रग्स का जो इफेक्ट है, सिर्फ वही इफेक्ट समझ में आता है। इसके अलावा जो रूटीन खुशी दुख ये सारी चीजें वो नहीं समझ पाते हैं अगर वो ड्रग्स के लिए एडिक्टेड है। सो हम कुछ ड्रग्स के स्पेसिफिक इफेक्ट्स के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। सो फर्स्ट जो सब ग्रुप है वो है स्टिमुलेंट्स। सो स्टिमुलेंट्स मतलब ड्रग्स जैसे कि कोकेन, एम्फेटामिन, मिथाइलफेनिडेट। सो एम्फेटामिन और मिथाइलफेनिडेट कुछ कॉमन कंडीशंस होती है किशोर अवस्था की, जिनके लिए एज अ ड्रग दिए जाते हैं, जैसे कि ADHD। बट अगर उनकी लत लग जाए और अगर वो एक्सेसिव क्वांटिटी में ली जाए तो देन उनकी एडिक्शन हो जाती है। कोकेन जो है वो नाक के थ्रू स्नॉट करके लिया जाता है। सो ये सारे जो ड्रग्स हैं वो CNS स्टिमुलेंट है, मतलब दिमाग को वो उत्तेजना प्रदान करते हैं, स्टिमुलेट करते हैं। तो जो इफेक्ट्स आते हैं वो है इंक्रीज्ड एनर्जी, यूफोरिया मतलब एक्सेसिव खुशी होना, ज्यादा अलर्ट रहना, थोड़ा सा चल बिचल, रेस्टलेस रहना, एक्साइटेबल रहना, नर्वस रहना, नींद कम आना, ज्यादा विचलित होकर के मन के जो थॉट्स है वो तेजी से विचलित थॉट्स आना, पर एक जगह वो कंसंट्रेट करने में मुश्किल होती है, और इनसे जो नेगेटिव इफेक्ट्स है वो है कि उन्हें डिल्यूजन्स और हेल्यूसिनेशंस, चीजें जो नहीं है वो दिखाई देती है। पैरानोइया मतलब दूसरों के ऊपर शक आता है कि मेरे खिलाफ कोई कुछ मंत्रणा चल रही है। फिर इसके अलावा सर दर्द हो सकता है, कंपन हो सकता है हाथों में, और अगर ड्रग की बहुत ज्यादा मात्रा हो जाए, ओवरडोज हो जाए, तो सीजर्स भी आ सकते हैं, मतलब झटके भी आ सकते हैं। साथ में हार्ट, ये जो ड्रग्स है सीएनएस स्टिमुलेंट्स तो है ही, हार्ट के लिए भी ये हार्ट रेट और बीपी जो है वो बढ़ा देते हैं, और सेक्सुअल डिसफंक्शन भी हो सकता है इन ड्रग्स के इफेक्ट्स के कारण। जो सेकेंड क्लास ऑफ ड्रग्स है विच दैट इज हीरोइन एंड बार्बिचूरेट्स, जिनको हम हमारी भाषा में ओपियोइड्स कहते हैं। सो हीरोइन जो है मोस्टली पेन मेडिकेशन का पार्ट होते हैं। सो समटाइम्स एडोलेसेंट्स अगर उन्हें ऐसी कोई दवाई दी जाए या ऐसा कोई बीमारी हो जाए जिसके लिए उनको ओपियोइड्स वाले पेन किलर्स देने पड़े, देन ये वाले एडिक्शन होने की संभावना होती है। सो द सिम्टम्स इंक्लूड्स in the eyes there could be constricted pupils, there could be blurred vision, so नजर आने में परेशानी होती है। स्किन में भी ट्रैक मार्क्स हो सकते हैं, और स्किन में इचीनेस और लालपन आना ये एक कॉमन सिम्टम है हेरोइन का। साथ में जो साइकोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट्स है वो सेम ही है, जैसे कि यूफोरिया और चक्कर आना और डिप्रेशन आना और कंफ्यूजन। बट जो ओपियोइड एडिक्शन है या हेरोइन एडिक्शन है उसमें ब्लड प्रेशर कम होता है और ब्रैडीकार्डिया होता है। सीएनएस स्टिमुलेंट्स के कारण ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ता है और हार्ट रेट भी बढ़ता है। साथ में इन द गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टाइनल वी कैन हैव कॉन्स्टिपेशन, वॉमिटिंग एंड नॉशिया when we are having when the adolescents are having addictions of heroin or barbiturates and opioids. So these are in short the physical symptoms of opioid drugs. Now we will just have a brief discussion on alcohol. So symptoms of alcohol addiction are predominantly again behavioral. So they will have high tolerance for alcohol. They will have friends who will regularly drink. They will be constantly hungover. मतलब सदा वो अल्कोहल के नशे में रहेंगे, सुबह से वो ड्रिंक की प्लानिंग करना स्टार्ट कर देंगे, और उनके दोस्त भी ऐसे ही रहेंगे जो अल्कोहल लेने वाले रहे, और उनका मूड चेंजेस भी बहुत फ्रीक्वेंट होंगे। द लॉन्ग टर्म इफेक्ट्स ऑफ अल्कोहलिज्म जो रहते हैं वो इंक्लूड करते हैं हार्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट। सो लकवा हो सकता है, बीपी बढ़ सकता है, हार्ट रेट आगे पीछे रह सकता है। साथ में अल्कोहल के कारण माल न्यूट्रिशन होता है। सो जब कोई इंसान अल्कोहल के नशे में रहता है या अल्कोहल के एडिक्शन में रहता है, खाना पीना कम हो जाता है, तो उसके कारण से मसल में वीकनेस, मसल में पतलापन आ सकता है, पैनक्रियाज इन्वॉल्व हो सकता है, पेट में अल्सर हो सकते हैं, सो स्टमक अल्सर हो सकते हैं। लंबे समय तक अल्कोहल लेने से लिवर सिरोसिस और हेपेटाइटिस हो सकता है। छाती में इश्यूज हो सकते हैं, बार बार फ्रीक्वेंट कफ एंड कोल्ड एपिसोड्स एंड लॉन्ग टर्म पल्मोनरी इश्यूज हो सकते हैं। प्लस इसोफेजल ब्लीडिंग हो सकती है। ये सारे लॉन्ग टर्म इश्यूज है। एडोलेसेंट्स में हमें हो सकता है मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स ना दिखे, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स हमें एडोलेसेंट में बिहेवियरल इश्यूज ज्यादा दिखेंगे, पर हमें जानना जरूरी है। और हमको ब्रेन इन्वॉल्वमेंट के कारण कॉग्निटिव स्लोइंग हो सकता है। सो बुद्धि कम हो सकती है, मेमोरी इश्यूज हो सकते हैं, और याददाश्त कमजोर होना और याददाश्त जल्दी कमजोर होने की संभावना बढ़ जाती है इन अल्कोहल यूज। सो लास्टली जो लास्ट क्लास ऑफ ड्रग्स है वो है हेल्यूसिनोजेंस। हेल्यूसिनोजेंस मतलब जो हमें क्या कहते हैं, जो नहीं होता वो दिखाई देना, या ऐसे दृश्य दिखाई देना जो नहीं होते हैं, उनको हम हेल्यूसिनोजेनिक ड्रग्स कहते हैं, जो हमारी भाषा में फेनसाइक्लिडीन, लाइसर्जिक एसिड, कीटामीन वगैरह के कारण होते हैं। सो हेल्यूसिनोजेंस के जो इफेक्ट्स होते हैं उसमें प्यूपिल्स मतलब आंख जो है वो बड़ी बड़ी दिखती है, बॉडी टेम्परेचर बढ़ जाता है, खाने पीने की इच्छा कम हो जाती है, नींद कम हो जाती है, बहुत ही ज्यादा पसीना आना और लालपन आना हो जाता है, नींद बढ़ भी सकती है, हाथों में कंपन आ सकती है, और हार्ट रेट इंक्रीज हो सकता है, ब्लड प्रेशर इंक्रीज हो सकता है, और नॉशिया एंड वॉमिटिंग हो सकता है। सो ये सारे इन शॉर्ट कुछ फिजिकल सिम्टम्स है ड्रग यूज के। सो बेसिकली टीन ब्रेन्स जो हैं वो अभी भी डेवलप हो रहे हैं. सो देयर प्री फ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स सिंस मैच्योर हो रही है, उनमें डिसीजन मेकिंग कैपेसिटी कम होती है. प्लस वो नए नए एक्सपीरियंस सीख करते हैं, बट वो ज्यादा वल्नरेबल होते हैं एडिक्टिव सब्सटेंस को के एडिक्शन में जाने के लिए. बट वो फ्लेक्सिबल भी है टू लर्न न्यू बिहेवियर एंड टू गो आउट फ्रॉम एडिक्शन. सो विद दिस आई थैंक यू ऑल. And we can move over to the next speaker.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Please stop share.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Chandana, madam. And it was a very informative and insightful talk. And we have really understood about the internet addiction, illicit drug abuse, and in very much greater details, various behavioral changes, and also about alcohol addiction. So now we move on to the second speaker for the day, Rotarian Dr. Madhu Oswal Thakkar. I would quickly introduce madam to all the audience. Dr. Madhu Thakkar is a very young, dynamic, and socially active personality. She is a family physician practicing since last 20 years and a de-addiction specialist since last 18 years. Madam has a lot of qualifications and numerous certificate courses in fundamentals of addictive medicine and substance use from USA, Colombia, and Ranchi. Madam has also done foundation course on addiction medicine from NIMHANS, Bangalore. She has been counseling and managing patients of substance abuse disorders and behavioral addictions in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, and Pune. She has trained almost 1,600 doctors, counselors, psychologists in addiction medicine, conducted prevention of drug abuse sessions in schools and colleges in Mumbai and Pune. Madam has also done a lot of HIV-related training courses for physicians, and also she has done certificate course of Johns Hopkins University on management of HIV in resource-poor setting. Madam has lots of awards and recognitions. She was selected for Unsung Hero Award in 2014 by Rotary Club of Powai. Best NGO Management Award was bestowed upon her by Rotary Club of Bombay West in 2017 and 2018. And Madam is also an honorary Rotarian of Rotary Club of Ghatkopar West since 2016. So I welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to start your talk.
Thank you, Dr. Swati, for your kind introduction. And thanks all the stalwarts on the screen, off the screen. I start my presentation now. So, youth and addiction. I'll be just concentrating on substance use disorder, as Madam has already covered internet and other use disorder. So this is just one second. Aman, a 19-year-old person, failed in class 12, now works in a call center. He was a topper in SSC exams. Affluent family, belongs to affluent family. He was introduced to drugs by a group of friends at a party at the age of 16 years. Now he takes weed, MD and meth, earns good in call center to support his addictions. A boy named Sahil, he's 17 years old and now he is in remand home for robbery. His mother was a domestic worker, single parent, started inhalants at the age of 8. At 13, he started cannabis, that is weed, in a form of minar. He then graduated to taking button, that is nitrazepam, a benzodiazepine drug. He was caught stealing mobiles because he wanted to support his addiction. Now he is in a remand home, a place which is probably worse than any place in the world outside. Nisha, 18-year, meth, no regrets. Only a daughter. She is the only daughter of a TV actress. She has been into modeling since the age of 16. Introduced to weed at the age of 14 by paddlers near school. She is in South Mumbai, a school in South Mumbai. Now she does methamphetamine and smoke to maintain her figure. So all these examples that we see today are actually examples which show us that we are socially connected, but practically alone a mentally disturbed society. We have a normal human generation. This is the normal picture today that we are seeing. What are the drugs used? We'll just go through this. We know about alcohol, we know about tobacco, caffeine, areca nut, supari, pan masala, jarda, kheni, forms of cannabis, that is marijuana, weed, charas, a form of cannabis, hush oil, hookah, vaping pens, inhalants, then ecstasy, synthetic cannabinoids, bath salts, plant food not for human consumption, then prescription drugs, opium, brown sugar, crystal meth, cocaine, date rape drug, that is rohypnol, GHB, ketamine, meow meow, a new drug of Mumbai, mephedron, it's called, LSD, which is a hallucinogen drug. And there are so many drugs which are called new psychoactive drugs and NPS. And these drugs don't even have their names. In 2020, 22, 27, 22, there was almost 1,200 new psychoactive drugs that didn't have their names, but children were using it. Now, thing is that there are so many drugs, and as adults, are we aware of those? And how do our children aware of these, and how, from where they are getting? We know that drugs are available near school. Free help for selling drugs near school. Candy for free near school. Drugs are sold as free samples so that they get hooked to the drugs and the children can get addicted and they start using it. Marijuana, cocaine, heroin. In Mumbai, they sell like hot veggies. And that is not restricted to Mumbai. In fact, Navi Mumbai and all the upcoming towns, Pune, Nashik, Nagpur, Aurangabad, these are the places where drugs are finding their places. And forget getting offline. Drugs are available online. If you go to the darknet and download the Tor software, you'll go to a site called Silk Road and many other sites where drugs can be bought online. There is an Instagram drug market. There is a social media community, Instagram, Grindr, Tinder, Whisper, Wicker. All this, as adults, we are not aware of, but children know this. And there are groups in those communities where they sell drugs. There is porn that is going on. There is gambling that is going on in these groups. And today we have drugs at the doorsteps in school and colleges, near nightclubs, rave parties, for night outs, online. Drugs are thrust on our children. The child don't have to go anywhere to get the drugs. Chances are a child is using drugs, because this survey in 2014 done by National Drug Dependence Treatment at All India Institute of Medical Sciences conducted the first nationwide survey on drug abuse in children. And they found that almost 83% were using tobacco, 67% alcohol, cannabis 35%, glue and correction fluids 34%, and they couldn't make out how many were using hard drugs, the drugs that we talked about in the previous slides. Thing is that, why are children experimenting drug? What's the reason behind it? As Madam had already cleared, there are many reasons, but the most important is to fit in, to look cool, for a change, because this age, this brain is something that they want to do novelty. They, for them, routine things bore them, to experiment, to reduce stress, the stress of the studies, stress of parental aspirations, to relieve boredom, to feel good or to feel better. They experiment drug to seem grown up. When their friends are using and if they don't use, they say कि कितना क्या पिछड़ा हुआ है, तू drug क्यों नहीं use करता, to rebel. Suppose he has some issues with the family. He wants to rebel and show that I use drugs, to look and perform manly, to keep awake for exams and projects, to lose weight, to gain weight of a bodybuilding, and most important, many people use drugs to just impress girlfriends. So these are the silly and not so silly reasons for using or starting and using drugs. And unfortunately, drugs are glamorized by our Bollywood. You have Honey Singh singing 22 party songs, and all his songs are loaded with mention of drugs, alcohol, smoking, cannabis. So, and our children are susceptible to such videos and such songs. But thing is that many may experiment drug, but not all become addicted. Children go through the stages of experimentation, then go to social use, that is occasionally when they meet, they use, then goes to a stage where abuse, where drugs is causing problem, but they are in a stage where they can come out of it. But and comes a stage when they become dependent on it. And here, excuse me, yeah, be dependent on it, where they fulfill the criteria, where they have the craving, they have loss of control, they have compulsion of using drugs, and they use it in spite of all the bad consequences that they are facing. The 4C of addiction they fulfill when they come to this stage. Not all who experiment drugs will get addicted. Addiction is a biopsychosocial disease, and we should have all the things together to fulfill the criteria when someone who has experimented will become dependent on drug. As we have listened to this song, वो दिल की मस्ती है जो रंग लाती है, नशा शराब में होता तो नाचती bottle. So that is true. The drug has addiction, but a person don't get addicted just because the drug is there. In the addiction, the drug is not the only problem. The other problems are the psychological risk, the family risk, the social risk, the friends risk, the community risk, and the policy risk. Out of the 220 million people who have tried drugs in 2016, only 29 million have become drug use disorder dependent. Why not all? As Madam already discussed, that addiction is not about lack of willpower or loss of moral values. It is a disease of the brain. Addiction is a disease of the brain with behavioral characteristics. It's not a fault of character or a lack of morality. It's all about chemical locha and a circuit problem, really a circuit problem of the brain. When a person gets addicted, it's like driving a car without brake. It's no more a choice to say stop. Inability to stop is the essence of addiction. And why does it happen? Because there is genetics behind it. There is heritability estimates for drug addiction are almost 50 to 60%. That means if you have in your family people using drug, your father, your kaka, your nana, your chacha, your anyone, and the more number of people using drugs, drug in any form, it could be tobacco, alcohol, or any other drug, then the chances of the child getting addiction is higher if he is exposed to it. It is true that people may choose to take drugs, but no one chooses to be an addict. That is almost decided by your genes. Does it matter what age the drug is started? As Madam already said, that this is the brain of a small child and this is the brain of an adult human being. If you see, it requires almost 20 to 21 years for the brain to actually develop in a full grown pattern. And the last part to develop is the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is the area from where we make decisions. Decisions about what is right for me and what is wrong for me. What should I be doing for my health? What should I not be doing for my health? And if that decision-making part of the brain is not developed and children experiment drugs at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16, they take decisions from a part of the brain called hindbrain, that is amygdala. And from amygdala, the decisions are made ad hoc. Ad hoc means without weighing the consequences. So this is the amygdala part. So if you make decisions from amygdala, the chances are that you make risky decisions without proving the pros and cons. So what are the risk factors in a genetically prone person? So we know that there is genetical probability, there are environmental factors, there is a drug factor, availability factor, and then a brain mechanism that leads to addiction. Chronic stress is a major factor of addiction in today's world. From a small child, a 2-year-old is going to school now. A 10-year-old has to give exam of NEET, which is as difficult as appearing for MBBS exams. So there is a lot of stress. There is a one-child policy now in the families. So all the expectation, parental expectations come to that one child. And is the child able to handle this stress? That's an important thing. Today, we give so much importance to the IQ. We don't see the physical question. We don't see the emotional question. We don't see the spiritual quotient. Don't you think this growth is equally important? The growth in managing relationships, the wisdom and compassion of inner peace and outer peace. This is more important than learning maths and other IQ set tests. Today, children have so many goals, and we have to concentrate on all the goals and not just education and career. We have to have a family, financial, physical, pleasure, public service, artistic attitude. All these have to kept in mind, and that will reduce the stress in children. If you just concentrate on education and career, we miss out on everything, and these children are more prone for addictions. How will you suspect if a child is hooked to drugs? Look, the child would have a dull-looking, glazed eyes, red short eyes. He may have runny nose, coughing. He may have changes in eating habit. He may have white specks around the nose if he's snorting. He may have dirty nails if he's preparing those cigarettes or is preparing those chillums for his use. He may frequently visit the bathroom because all the cigarette making or smoking or snorting children do in the bathroom because they know that the bedroom would smell or someone may just suddenly come in the bedroom. Children will have mouth fresheners, gums or eye drops in with them. So mouth fresheners to hide the smell of the drug that is using. Either it could be nicotine or it could be cannabis of any form. They then gums, chewing gums, and they may be using eye drops because after using cannabis weed in any form, the eye becomes red. And to hide that redness, they use eye drops. As Madam already said, there could be a weight gain if they're using cannabis. There could be a weight loss if they're using any of the stimulant drugs. Children, again, other than that, as already Madam said, that they find it difficult in paying attention. They have forgetfulness, drowsy or lost all the time, sudden aggressive behavior and irritability, nervousness. A suddenly good behaving child becomes aggressive and the parents don't know why he is becoming that way. Increased secretiveness, heightened sensitivity to inquiry. If you ask them, where are you going, with whom you are going, they suddenly become very aggressive and tell, why do you care? I'll go wherever. I'm grown up now. So when you get such answers, when they want to hide something from you, that means we should suspect that no, something is going wrong. Changing in eating habit and sleeping habits. So these are the symptoms, signs and symptoms where you know the child is hooked to drugs. Again, they have change in friends, problem in relationships with family, with friends at school, at playing. Yes. Does not share about new friends, sudden changes in personality, dressing style, avoids family time, loss of interest in one of the previous favorite hobbies or sports, sudden decline in performance and attendance in the school.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when you suspect that all these are signs and symptoms which you make you cautious, okay, the child may be at risk of drug use. And it depends upon your parenting style, the way you will approach, way we will react to the situation. Are you an authoritarian parent? Are you a permissive parent? Are you a neglectful parent? Are you an authoritative parent? It has to be, parenting has to be a balance of support and discipline. There should be a problem solving and emotional expression, a scope for emotional expression in the family, and the stress should be on not on working on probing on the problem, but solving the problem. And that can be done with support and discipline. There is a very good book called Positive Parenting. It's called Family Checkup. If you just Google it, you'll come to know. And there it is, in 5 chapters, they have said how you can avoid addictions in your family by good communication, by encouragement, by negotiation skills, by setting limits, and by supervision. Each chapter, I think as a doctor and as a parent, if we go through, we know how to avoid, how to prevent, and how to protect our children from getting into addiction. But if you see, there is a silent cry for help from our children. and we should listen to this child cry. But what they need is thoda sa lift kara do. Be a positive role model. You should take care of your own health. You should do exercises. You should be patient when you're dealing with other people. You should stop and rethink before you react to anything. So whatever you do, children model you. Children look at you and they behave the same way. So if you let go, or if you behave in a very positive way, children will be doing the same thing. You should show understanding and compassion and kindness to others. Be charge of your own emotion. Shouldn't let your emotions fly over everywhere in the house. You should use humor. You should take responsibility of your action. You should reach out for support. If you reach out for support, children know that my papa or my mummy reach out for support when they need. So even I should reach out for support when I have an issue with me. You should stay positive. So all this positive role modeling has to be there in home to prevent drug addiction or any addiction or mental health disorder, or more than that, it's like being a human being, good human being. That's a moral modeling that you should be doing at home. Nowadays, we see that parents drink in front of children. And this is the role modeling that we are doing. We see hookah culture in our families. In the most conservative families also, we see mothers and fathers doing hookah together in front of children. Is this the role modeling that we should be doing? No. Do we have time for our children? Many times, even parents are hooked to their phones, either for work or for entertainment or just for social media. So children are asking for your time. They may not ask verbally, but their brain needs that attention, that affection from you. And when you give that, they feel that they are being loved, they are being attended. So the time, uninterrupted time, is that will go a long way in building a good human being out of your children. We have to tell our children what is good partying. So we cannot stop parties. Children will go to parties, but there should be safe party rules that should be laid down in the family and discussed. Where, with whom they are going, what time they are going, what time they'll come back. Know where you are going and know you're getting there and who will get you back. If you do, make sure you make your that you're taking. Never mix drugs with alcohol or other drugs. Stay close to friends you trust. Don't leave your drinks unattended and don't accept a drink from a stranger. This is not only for girls, even for boys, we should be advocating this. Don't take your eyes off your drink. Leave for somewhere safe if you feel unsafe at the party. If you drink in moderation. The best way to avoid drug-related problem is not to use at all. Can we have a party without alcohol drug use? Then ensure you're driven back by a sober friend. So all these small things have to be discussed with your children who are going for night out with their friends, who are going for parties, who are going to clubs, or who are saying just they are going for birthday parties. But make sure what they are doing, with whom they are, how they'll go and how they'll come back, and what has happened over there. You should have contacts with your friends, fathers, parents, so that you are in touch with each other to find out if something goes wrong at the party. About the online protection of the child, the internet addiction, the porn risk, the other risk, there is something called Protect Your Child Online, and this website is very good to ensure that the child is safe online. This is the ultimate guide for non-techie parents. So you can make the phone, the laptops safe for children to be used. At the same time, it gives tips as to what you will teach your children if they face some situation online where they are being bullied, where they have been, there is a chances of abuse, there were the chances of getting into gambling or porn. And if you suspect your child is using alcohol or drugs, there is a book called Intervention ebook, a must for people who find that there is something going wrong in their family and they want to browse this subject with their children. If you find that your child is using alcohol or cannabis or weed or any other hard drug, don't just react immediately. You have to have a plan as to how you'll browse that topic with the child, so that you gain his confidence. You show him that you are concerned about his drug taking habit or alcohol taking habit, and you are there to help him. And this book will really give you good tips as to how you will browse it, how you'll make a plan. It should be a formal meeting. It shouldn't be an informal intervention. And it helps you to go into that. So I would say, we shouldn't be talking about addiction. We should be talking about connection. The connection that we are losing nowadays because of this internet era, because of these mobiles, because of this so-called social media, which was supposed to get people together, but in fact, we are going away from each other. We need to have a policy of phone off, connection on. We should teach our children to be connected with the family, with friends, with society, with the present moment. Mindfulness. Be happy with whatever you have in the present moment, and you connect to your own self. Instead of connecting to thousands of Facebook friends and Instagram friends, connect to your own self. Thank you.
Very nice and impactful presentation, Dr. Madhu.
Thank you.
Yes.
The today's world fact is that lack of time to give time for family, and everybody is like concentrating on their own growth. And you told that point very nicely. And the forum is open for questions now. Dr. Ajay, any questions?
Hello, good evening.
Yeah.
No questions presently. You can wait if you want.
I'd like to ask Madam something. As she said कि genetics और biology का काफी सारा role है इसमें. So who will become an addict is decided by your genetics, right? That's what you say. So suppose a child we found he's already addicted or he's consuming some drugs, some addiction में है. De-addiction is the cure, or you say treatment for it. So should we go for it or should we not go for it? Because if it is genetic, will it go? Will it be cured?
So see,
what message we should give to the parents?
Yeah, so even diabetes is genetically determined. Hypertension is genetically determined. So it's not that we cannot treat it. We can manage it. Of course, we can manage it. And Chandana madam would definitely agree to that. We can manage it. Thing is that if it is too much of heavy genetic load on it, the chances of the child getting into relapse are more. So whenever we take the history, we write down कि कितने लोग family में है, and we know how difficult the case would be. Dr. Bhagwat, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, Chandana madam, I would like to ask that. Genetic का role कितना है?
Yes, so जो genetic factors for addiction है ना, they are polygenic. So multiple genes,
Correct.
if they are present and are favoring that a child will or adolescent will become addicted. So multiple genes are in a play. It's not that one gene is mutated and if that gene is involved, that child will 100% be addicted and cannot be managed. So it's a sort of a polygenic sort of a thing. So we can try to manage it and minimize it. It's not that if those genes are present, then he or she cannot be cured. They just increase the risk of that occurrence.
Right. That's what I mean to say. So
yeah.
Rather, I will suggest कि parents से बात करते हुए genetic का role थोड़ा low profile ही बताएंगे. नहीं तो everything can be blamed on it.
My point is, if there is father or parents are in drug abuse or in alcohol using, particularly that environment actually helps the adolescent to adapt it, and that increases the risk. It is genetic background favored by the environment.
Yes,
that really,
definitely, sir.
That really makes the sense. So if you make the environment, a change in the environment, the genetic background of the parents may ultimately not reflect so heavily on the child or the adolescent if they are able to show good environment or present good family environment to the son or to the daughter.
Definitely, sir.
This is Dr. Kiran
Dr.
here.
Dr. Ravi Kiran wants to ask something, I think.
Dr. Kiran Vaswani is adolescent health practitioner in Navi Mumbai. She wants to ask.
I had one comment, actually not exactly asked. This genetic is just like having a loaded gun with you. What pulls the trigger is what is important. Just because you are genetically prone does not mean. So in fact, we should be very careful about knowing the genetic vulnerability and sort of use it for our anticipatory guidance more to the parents. When their parents we know drink or are into these habits regularly, this affects them. You can say since the teen is vulnerable, has a genetic vulnerability, it's better we take more care. So it can help in prevention. And as rightly said by Dr. Chandana Madam, it will, or Dr. Madhu, we should use it as a guard to see if these kids are teens are more prone to fall down or relapse. So we are more careful with them. So underplaying may actually not help. Making them aware of the vulnerability will actually be more helpful for the teen and the parents also to take care.
Can I ask one question, Dr. Madhu?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, in practice, what we have seen that many of the times the young adults, they get admitted in our hospital to like want to leave the drugs and everything. But over the period of time, once they are managed with their withdrawal symptoms, they go back and then they again start their drugs. So like for last 25 to 30 years, we have found it that they just want to reduce their dosage, but they never leave the habit. So means how to tackle this?
So basically working with children or any person with drug addiction, we have to work on their motivation. Why they are into addiction. So one is genetic factor. Secondly, do they have any psychiatric illness that we have not recognized? What are the social factors that are contributing to it? And what are the benefits he's getting from the drug addiction that he's continuing? Anyone won't do any behavior unless he gets benefit from it, right? So we have to find out how drug is helping him. And now there is something called motivation enhancement intervening techniques or motivation enhancement therapy, where we find out if that is a benefit, can he find this benefit somewhere else? And we have to work, and most of the times these people want to come out of it, but because their brain system is hijacked when they are in the dependent stage, they cannot come. Their willpower is not in use. And that's the time we need to work out what is something, a better goal for their life for which they will try to come out. So motivation intervening technique, CBT wherever needed, these all are needed. Secondly, there are a lot of pharmacological treatments that are available for many drugs, for alcohol, for nicotine, which help them to get out, to reduce their craving. There are anti-craving drugs which can be used. So we need to help them. It's a long process. What we do for a detox treatment is just a transition phase. Recovery is the first thing of recovery is just transition. Then there are years that you take in recovery, early recovery, intermediate recovery, long-term recovery. So the person has to go through all those phases step by step to come out of those habits. And he will go into relapse again and again. But each relapse has to be handled in a proper way so that he doesn't do the same mistake again to go into it that way.
Yeah, Dr. Amog is having some comment. You can unmute Dr. Amog Shahane and you can talk.
Good evening, ma'am. I just wanted to know, like how ma'am has told about role modeling of the parents. But sometimes, like if more than one member is addicted, like father is already alcoholic, and then the teenager, because of easy use of easy availability of liquor maybe in the house, the child also can get addicted. So then it's obviously wise to de-addict the father, because the situation wouldn't change if only the teenager is put into rehab or de-addiction. So how do you approach such a problem?
Should I? Okay, so when we deal with addiction, we actually not deal just with the patient. In fact, we always deal with the family, whether they are other members in the family are addicted or they are not addicted. So suppose a child comes with addiction to us, we always see that what are the family dynamics over there? Who is the role model in the family? Who is the decision making person in the family? So it's about, like, suppose a smoker comes and his partner is also smoker. A woman comes that I smoke, but it's a partner. So we have to work on both the partners, because someone else is smoking in the house. They both have to stop together if things are there. So yes, working on addiction is working with the family. So family intervention is an important part. So of course, when a child comes with addiction or alcohol use, we'll have to talk to his father that your usage is affecting your child. And that's why it has to be a joint decision that you both come out of it together, so that your child, it may help your child to come out it. And here the mother plays a very important role.
Madam, there is one raised hand, Rotarian Dr. Ravi Kiran. I think he wants to ask something.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
I just want to share, according to this psychologist, previously we keep on talking about the IQ, which is intelligence coefficient, and slowly we have been added with another one, which is called EQ, emotional coefficient, right? And there are another two beautiful yet very emphasized coefficients that are exist for our human intelligence, according to the psychology, is SQ, that is social quotient. The fourth one is advisory quotient, AQ. So these two are as good as other IQ and EQ, where, like, it is not limited to only kids, even for adults, like for us as well. So these four has to play a very vital role, because when I speak about SQ, this is the kind of measure of your ability to build a network of friends and maintain it over the longer period of time. As you rightly mentioned, like, once they addicted, they don't feel like to talk to the people, right? They don't come into the bubble. So just they restrict themselves. So here, like, we as a parents, or else well-wishers, like, we would like to, we have to emphasize on this SQ as well, which is kind of, if the moment you have a good and better SQ, though there is a addictiveness within the human being, these quotients will be definitely enhances the ability of not or it's like the ability to stay themselves, corner themselves, like, they don't feel like to corner, or else, stagnate themselves. They would like to come out, because that SQ has been in depth developed within the body.
Yeah.
And another fourth one, which I would like to say, is that AQ, that advisory coefficient. It is also a kind of the measure of ability to go through a rough patch in life and come out of it without losing your mind.
Right.
So that probably, rather than kids, adults may understand, but if we as a parents and then doctors, we are all, if we try to emphasize on these four, so that especially on this AQ, then one really expose the parents should expose their children to the other areas of life besides the academics, as you rightly mentioned. So these kind of, if there is any like less marks, then we'll try to give the kind of punishment. So these are all things are intangible when it comes to, if you have that AQ, because this AQ determines who will give up, and then who will be the abandoned family without even considering what are the other negative thoughts. So actually, why I came up this, because I'm into kind of leadership development across, not only in Rotary but all the in the other kind of coach, you would say, like, I used to go to all the IITs and IIMs to give the guest lectures. There, I, along with the fellow groups, we always mention on these four quotients, so that, they'll have an equal importance, so that one will be able to understand exactly, so why we are not able to get into the social bubble, or else, like, why I'm even if I need to, if I held up in a dark mark, I need to bounce back. So in order to adhere to that, I need to have this advisory question. So just I would like to touch base on these points.
Yeah, that was very, very useful tip. True. So that's the importance of having life skill education in school. So problem solving, coping mechanisms, then making yourself self-aware, who you are, what you want in life. All these things, I think, should be a part of your curriculum, not just a guest speaker coming and giving 1 hour lecture in the whole year. No, I think these skills matter more in a life than what we learn in the textbooks, after all.
If there are no other questions, the important question I like to ask all the dignitaries is, suppose we find the child with abuse or addiction, where to refer? De-addiction center और साइकियाट्रिस्ट और किसके पास भेजना चाहिए, कहाँ से मदद लेनी चाहिए? नवी मुंबई एरिया में डू वी हैव सच सेंटर्स? 1-2 नावं सांगितली तरी चालेल. Nor to name, sir. Madhu madam, do you run such a center? Or
Yes.
Yeah, so I have an OPT based practice, but I referred for a de-addiction centers. So as Bhagwat ma'am would also say that not every child needs a de-addiction rehab. So there are stages of addiction. If you go by the DSM-5, there is early, middle, and late stage. So it depends kaun si stage mein hai, how much is your support, what type of drugs. So for alcohol, nicotine, not necessarily every time he has to be, but for hard drugs like cocaine, for methamphetamine, maybe the chances of going to rehab are higher. But I think every case is different, and we have to sort out whether it has to be rehab based, a short-term hospital based, or just OPD based, or peer groups introduction, then AA, NA, that is Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholic Anonymous. Everything has to work together. But many people have this ki ek bar addiction ka patient hai ki usko rehab mein dalna hai. No, that's not an answer. Sometimes we have adverse effect of putting a child into rehab without his or her consent, and especially if it was not needed at that time. Maybe it could have been managed at the OPD level with a good family support, with a good friends support, with AA, NA together. So many times I just manage on OPD level with a frequent follow-up.
Yeah, there is 4 psychiatrists in Navi Mumbai who are running a hospital in Parsik Hill, and there they admit these hard drug patients.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Dr. Omkar Mate also is there into.
Yes, yeah. He is one of the psychiatrists. Yeah. We are already 5:20. Sir, Sukanta sir, you want to have some comment?
Well, it's a very good session, I must say, and we have learned a lot, and particularly that the issue that Madhu has raised. I would rather like to say that instead of commenting on the part of the treating physician that it's genetic is people at large thinks that genetic is not changeable. So if it is in genetics, then it's useless to do any treatment and they become hopeless. Rather, I would suggest all of us to say that this is mostly environmental. The environment is coming from the family, that you and other family members are ready. That's why it is coming. And it's something which is familial is not always genetic. In that way, even if they put the issue of genetics, I have heard or read in the internet that is it genetic? Is there any way out of it? Then even in that case, we can say that it's familial, and it's not always that familial things are always genetic. If you read it carefully, you will understand that genetics and familial influence on a disease are different. So in that way, we can soften it rather than giving something hopeless idea that gene means it's no change, no hope. So they might abandon the management. That's the only comment I can make after all these discussions. Otherwise, it's a very useful discussion. And that's why I was listening for almost 1.5 hours this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I enjoyed it.
Now it is time for vote of thanks, and I invite our Raigad IIP President, Dr. Ajay Koli, to do that honor. Dr. Ajay.
Secretary, Dr. Ajay. Sorry.
Yeah, Raigad IIP
Yeah.
Secretary, Dr. Ajay Koli.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. On behalf of Raigad IIP and EHA, I would like to first thank our president, Dr. Vikas More sir, and for arrangement of this wonderful session. It was really an eye opener for all of us. He gave us an important message in the beginning that don't just put all the blame on the child. The parenting it is a major role. So our parenting failure will be the first step towards a child being any child being going towards drugs. Next, of course, big thanks to Dr. Chitra ma'am. She has been meticulously arranging all our online webinars. Thank you, ma'am. I also thank you to our second moderator, Dr. Swati Likite ma'am, and Dr. Nilima Bhandakar ma'am for conducting this session with such ease and making it interactive as much as possible. Next, guest of honor, Dr. Sukanta Chatterjee, sir. Thank you for sparing time from your schedule and honoring us. And the biggest thanks to both the speakers, Dr. Chandana Bhagwat ma'am and Dr. Madhu Oswal ma'am. Though your talks were really wonderful, and you have really underlined how much the menace of drug use is rampant and increasing day by day in our society. Otherwise, we are just caught up in our, as we say, CCF, cough, cold, and diarrhea patients, and we don't really go beyond those things in our OPDs. So it will be an eye opener for us as well. Thank you. And last but not the least, all the participants who have joined our webinar. Till we see you again for the next session. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, please stop the recording.